national anthem, to be followed by the opening prayer by Ms. Angela Fabin.
Alam ng puso, sa titig mo ibuhay, lupang inilang, duyan ka ng magiting, sa manlulubi, di ka pasisilin, sa dagat at mundo, sa simoy at sa langit mong magaw, may ilatang tulad, awit sa paglayang minamahal, ang isang ng patawad mo'y tagumpay na nagtitingin, ang bituin at araw niyang kailan pa may magdidilim, lupa ng araw ng Lord at ipagsinta, muray langit sa piling mo. Ang higaya ng pag may mga apit, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Let us all remember that we are in the most holy presence of God. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we bow before you and thank you for this wonderful day that you have given us. We pray for this school year that we may successfully deliver your message and love to the children under our care. We pray also, dear Lord, for our new Brother President, Brother Suplido, that you may continue to bless him with wisdom, understanding, and love as he shares his time and knowledge in leading us in teaching minds, touching hearts, and transforming lives. Let us all glorify the Lord by praying, "Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen." Saint John Baptist de la Salle, live Jesus in our hearts. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Good morning. Allow me to take this opportunity to thank everyone for the year that was. I would say it was a challenging and fulfilling experience. Challenging because I have to address the concerns of more than 100 teachers and staff. And fulfilling when I am able to deliver in my special way what is expected of me. It was an opportunity because in one way or the other, I established rapport with our administrators and the other significant key persons of the university. As the new school year begins, we do have new set of officers. My task this morning is to give you our newly inducted faculty club president who will give his welcome remarks. With this, his official function starts today. As one Salle family, please help me welcome my colleague in the mathematics department, Mr. Rafi Ballester.
Persons are gifts of God to me that come all wrapped so differently. Some loosely, others so tightly, but wrappings are not the gift. These are the lines of the song that we used to sing during our pre-graduation retreat. Indeed, we are privileged to have with us today the person who is a gift to us. The entire integrated school family is greatly honored to have you with us, Brother Ray. The faculty and staff are happy to have you working with us for the next years to come. Rest assured of our full support to whatever plans and programs that you will undertake. You have good administrators, dynamic, committed, workaholic, qualified, and service-oriented faculty and staff to be behind you in all your endeavors. Our school, which is perceived to be the university of the future, according to the outgoing president, Brother Gus Boker, FSC, will continue to teach minds, touch hearts, and transform the lives of our students. We hope that whatever programs and projects the brothers had started will be continued under your leadership On behalf of the integrated school faculty and staff, welcome home, Brother Ray, and Godspeed.
Good morning. Brother President, I am honored to present to you the ever cooperative, creative, committed, and competent people of the integrated school. If your name is called, please acknowledge by standing. I'll start with the principal, Mrs. Pilar Limas. The principal is assisted by 3 vice principals. We have 1 vice principal in the grade school in the person of Ms. Dara Tomata, who is still abroad. Okay. The high school department is headed by the vice principal, Ms. Doris Dumaran. The different homeroom advisors, non-homeroom advisors, and club moderators are under the level vice principal. May I now introduce to you all the teachers of the grade school. Please stand up. Okay. Thank you. The teachers of the high school. Thank you. I am the vice principal for academics, brother. I take care of the academics from grades 1 to 11. Under my care are the department chairs. Each subject area is supervised by a department chair from grades 1 to 11. The English department, we have Tina Navarro. May I request the English teachers to please stand up? High school English teachers. Thank you. The English reading department is supervised by Rosal Ramonita. All the English reading teachers of the grade school, please. The math department is under Tess Lopez. All the math teachers, please. The science department is supervised by Tina Calvo. The science teachers, please. The social studies department is supervised by Cyril de la Cruz. Social studies teachers. The Filipino department is headed by Sinaida Gutana. Filipino teachers. The PE department is headed by Sharcil Prado. PE teachers, please. The practical arts department is supervised by Lindy Nuevo. Practical arts teachers, computer teachers. The Christian Living department is supervised by Miss Andre Fabil. The CL teachers, please. And brother, we're very serious with our technology integration. We are preparing for the full implementation of technology in teaching. So we're creating a very important, in fact, it has started 2 years ago, the TITP or the Technology Integration Training Program, which is manned by Mr. Jan Caballo. And incidentally, Mr. Caballo is the head of all supervised schools in the Visayas and Mindanao. To help realize the mission of the IS, we have also the different academic support services. The Guidance Center is headed by Silva Ralios. And she is assisted by the guidance counselors. The grade school that we have 2, we have 3 in the grade school, and we have 2 in the high school guidance counselors. The campus ministry office is headed by Buki Simpson alone. She is assisted by Ms. Linda Ferrer. The Community Services Center is headed by no less than Alice Lucero. Okay. The discipline officers in the high school, we have Christian Fernandez. In the grade school, we have Joe Pascuadra. Our staff, science laboratories, Anthony Opao. Our OB in charge in the high school, Arnel Guayco. The grade school is run by Apollo Mori. Our head librarian in the high school is Johnny Monserrate, who's still attending the Albasa conference in Cebu. The grade school is headed by, there is no head librarian yet, but we have the assistant librarian in the person of Isa Marie Halloween and J.T. Ferrer, the high school assistant librarian. The computer in the high school is headed by Marlon Anay. We are still looking for his counterpart in the grade school. Okay. And of course, our English consultant, who is very, very close to the integrated school, is Cecil Alandoni. Our staff, we have the high school secretary, Joanne Abellar. The grade school secretary, Edison Espanyola. The record staff, Maymay Tumbagahan. The guidance secretary, Cleo Malan. The main office secretary, Christy Tan. And she is supported by our clerk, office clerk, si Bon de los Reyes. So this is rather the IS family. Rest assured that we will always be behind you in all your projects and undertakings. Thank you very much.
Good morning. I am truly honored to be the one to introduce our very special and distinguished guest. According to Rafi, gift of God to the University of St. LaSalle, the new president of the university, Brother Ray Suplido, FSC. Brother Ray is one of the 6 children of the late Dr. Rufino C. Suplido Sr. and Mrs. Carmelina Bilardo from Valladolid, Negros Occidental. So Brother Ray is a Negrosano. He finished his elementary years at the University of St. LaSalle, Bacolod City. It was then the LaSalle, Bacolod. Class of 1959. So you can imagine how young he is. He finished his high school at the De La Salle University, Manila, Philippines, class of 1963. And as I understand, he took the habit on October 10, 1963. Just when you were still in high school, brother? After high school. He took his first vow as a LaSalle brother on October 11, 1964, and 8 years after, he had his final vows as a LaSalle brother. That's 1972. He finished his AB and BSE at the De La Salle University, Manila. He has an MA in education in the same school, a bachelor and licentiate in clinical psychology, 1983 Pontifical Gregorian University, Rome, Italy, and a PhD in counseling psychology at the De La Salle University also. As a La Salle brother, he has served the La Salle community all over the Philippines in various capacities. He was a high school teacher in 3 different high schools, the La Salle Academy, Iligan, University of St. La Salle, Bacolod, that was 1970 to 1972. We were not around yet. And at De La Salle, Lipa City also. He served as a grade school principal at the De La Salle University for 3 years, that was 1973 to 1976, and the director also of the Scholastic House of Studies, Manila, from 1977 to 1980. He was also the director of La Salle Novitiate, Lipa City, from 1983 to 1990, and the brother visitor of the Philippine District from 1990 to 1993, and a member of the Superior General's Council in Rome, Italy, 1993 to 2000. Director, La Salle Animation and Formation Team, De La Salle University, Dasmariñas, and the Director of the Brothers Community, De La Salle University, Manila, year 2005. He is also a member of the Board of Trustees of the different La Salle schools, universities, and institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming the new president of the University of St. La Salle, Brother Raimundo Bilardo Suplido, FSC.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored by your presence here, and I appreciate being introduced to all the members of the IS family and seeing your young, very young faces, handsome and pretty faces. I'm very happy to be in your midst this morning. As Doris mentioned, I was telling Brother Arian that was Old Testament when I was studying here. In a way, I grew up as La Salle Bacolod grew up. You know, I remember I was not in the original classes when La Salle Bacolod opened up. I was attending the elementary high school in West Elementary. That was the training school of the teachers in, I think, the Bacolod city area of public schools. And then my mother found out that La Salle was opening, so the following year, my brother and I transferred to La Salle Bacolod. My brother, some of you may know, is Monsignor Boto Suplido. He's the eldest, but he's now in Paranaque and Alabang. And so now I'm coming back to Bacolod and he's over there. But I remember entering La Salle Bacolod, and it was still rice land around. And I remember kabuyanay kaming puga during recess, because just outside were grade 3, I think, that original wing was just newly built, and there were still, in a way, the rice lands that were still there. The following year, I think they put up the other wings, and then the high school and the college didn't exist at that time. So, coming back, I think it has been a very, very pleasant experience for me. And I'd like to share with you this morning some of the things that perhaps I can contribute to the IS community. Maybe before that. Or are you ready? Yeah. The thing I thought of sharing with you is our mission as Lasallian educators. And what... I want to thank you, first of all, for the very, very warm welcome. I never saw my name advertised in so many places at one time. And I know that it is with a very special affection that you are welcoming me as a new president, as a new member of the Lasallian family in Bacolod. So I thank you very much for going out of your way to send the flowers and the fruits when I arrived, and the signs outside your offices. And now today for your presence here and inviting me to be with you. Okay. So it's been a homecoming for me. As Doris mentioned, I taught here in 1970 to 72 in the high school. And I think very, very, very few of you were around at that time. And none of those, I think, of the teachers who were teaching with me are around in the high school, as far as I know. I think they're either retired or have passed on. But it was a very interesting time because I ended up teaching my two younger brothers in the high school. One was in first year, the other was in third year high school. So that was an interesting experience to teach your younger brothers science and Christian living. But now, coming back, I see a lot of progress that has taken place, a lot of development, and it's a very exciting time, I think, to come back to Bacolod. Yeah, the warm welcome, thank you for that. And I welcome you also because I think you're starting a new school year. And I think your students are very eager to be back. And I think they've had enough vacation time. And usually I think young kids are eager to come back after a long, long summer break. Even though some teachers may also feel it's been too short. But welcome back. What I'd like to share with you this morning is just a reflection on really our mission. And it's not something new, but I feel it is important to, as you start the school year, to just recall and deepen, I think, why we are all here and why in this particular school. How many of you are 10 years and above in the Salle College? Big number. 5 to 9 years. Okay. Less are 4 and younger. New ones, first year in the Salle College. Thank you. Okay. All right. Well, what I'd like to start with, the next slide. It's freezing. Okay, how many of you have read the novel 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Marquez? How many of you have? There's one interesting event in this novel by Gabriel Marquez. He's a South American writer. And he talks about a small town, very progressive. It was making a lot of progress, although it was kind of isolated. And all of a sudden, there was an illness that, and next there. There was a mysterious illness that began to affect the people living in the town. And the illness was they started to lose their memory. Everything else was fine. They were healthy, except their memory began to fade. Next. First, they started losing their memory of the past, of their childhood, of their ancestors, of the early members of their family. So when this was happening, what they did was they started, those who still remember, they started putting scrapbooks together. And then they started telling each other, sharing their stories of who was your grandfather, how are we related, etc., etc. In order to try and maintain the memories that were fading from their minds, they tried to put it in scrapbooks and writing it down. But then, the illness continued. And the next thing that affected them was they started to forget even the present. Their memory began to fade, and they started forgetting who is the person living with me in my house. Who are my neighbors? Who are they? And then they started even the objects that were in their houses, they began to forget what is this for. They go to the kitchen, they began to forget what is that, the pots, the chairs. So what they did to try and counteract that, they put up signs. This is a pot. You use this for cooking in the kitchen. Or this is a carriage. This is pulled by a horse and to move you from one place to another. And then they put street signs. This street goes to the following places. And outside their houses, they put the names of who lives here. Not only for the people around, but for themselves, so that they would remember where their houses were. So, gradually the memory started to fade. And then even their signs afterwards, they could not understand what their signs meant. So they would go up to the door and they would see a sign there, but they could not understand what the sign meant. They knew it meant something before, but now they... So you can imagine this little town started to be confused because they did not remember who they were. They did not recognize the people around them, and they did not recognize also what these things around them were for. Next. And they themselves began to also, of course, forget who they were because they didn't know so many things that the memories began to fade. I think what this excellent author was trying to tell us was to give a parable of sometimes what happens to us when we get so involved in many things. Multitasking. You're a parent, you're a teacher, not only teacher, but homeroom teacher, subject teacher, okay, member of this committee. In your household or in your neighborhood, you have other things to do. Okay. So all this, of course, add up. And after a while, we begin to forget. Or, it's not that we consciously try to forget it, but we don't know how to integrate a number of these different roles that we play. So, Marquez is telling us, it's like we get hit by this illness and we begin to forget important things. I think what he was trying to show was some of the things that we sometimes take for granted are really very, very important. And we don't realize it until we lose them or we start to lose them. I think those of you who have members of the family who are suffering from Alzheimer's will feel that or experience that, where the memory of the person begins to fade. Brother Felix was suffering from Alzheimer's, and he would ask the brothers, "What time is the mass today?" 5 minutes later, he said, "What time is the mass today? Is there mass today?" etc. Because the memory begins to fade. So, one, I think, first thing is remembering who we are as we start the new school year. Remembering that we have many, I call it occupational hazards as teachers, that we get so engrossed, not in a bad way, but in a good way, in the many things that we are taking care of, that we can sometimes push aside or forget what are the important things. And I think that's, first of all, is who we are as teachers. Next. We are Lasallian educators. And that means many things. At the end of this, I'll share with you one of the meditations the St. Salle wrote, the first one, which he wrote for all educators. And since it's the first one, it's probably the synthesis of what he sees is the vocation of a Lasallian educator. And in that, he says, by God's providence, you and I are called to be signs of God's loving and caring presence to each young person entrusted to our care. We are called, it's a vocation. It's providential. He says it's not by accident that you are in the classroom. Even though maybe rationally, sometimes we think, oh, I came to LaSalle by accident. I happened to be walking by and then I saw a sign that there are vacancies in USLS, and so I applied. I think those of you who have been teaching for a longer period, when you reflect over the journey that you have undergone, you will notice that God has been guiding you throughout that journey. And one of them is that you are called to be God's loving and caring presence to each of the students. Not only the intelligent ones, not only the ones who are nice to deal with, but most especially the lost sheep or the black sheep. The ones who are hardest to get through to. The ones that you can leave the rest of the class, but you have to keep an eye on this one, because if you don't keep your eye on this one, the whole class is going to be in trouble or in an uproar. You probably have names and faces already in your mind. Okay. But these are the ones that need the most attention, as well as the others. And so St. Salle says, it's not by accident that you happen to be the teacher of this particular boy or girl. So when you start the school year and as you get to know each of your students, keep that in mind. I think that is our calling. They are entrusted to our care, almost as strong as being, he says, being fathers and mothers to the children entrusted to our care. Because oftentimes parents are too busy too busy with what we are doing. So, some of the images St. Salle uses is that of a shepherd, a guardian angel, ambassadors, fathers, and mothers. I don't know which of these images appeals to you, but when you are struggling in your classes with particular students, try to recall this. Who am I to this student? Who am I called to be for this student? Maybe at this particular time, maybe a gentle mother. At certain times, to be a firm father. At other times, to be a shepherd who will look for this, a way to touch the heart of this particular student who is having difficulty, either personal or relational. Okay, thank you. So that's one, remembering who we are. The second is remembering why we are here. In the language of St. Salle, he says, it's to bring salvation. Now, of course, that's a very theological term. But salvation, think of it in these terms. The next, it's human and Christian education. Human because we're providing the students with the basic knowledge, skills, and values. And I think that is what makes the person develop fully as a human being. In another term is holistic. So different levels or different dimensions of the student's life. One is intellectual, certainly, but also emotional, social, to relate with others, and of course, spiritual. And this is true for each teacher. It's not that I'm teaching Christian living, so I will just focus on the spiritual. You're faster than I am. Okay, so spiritual applies as much as if you are a PE teacher as if you are a Christian living teacher. Social is not just for social studies teachers, but the homeroom teacher, because that's the interaction of the students among themselves. The same, of course, intellectual. Now, you, especially since you're handling basic education, you really lay the groundwork, you lay the foundation for these children to grow up as they grow up into adolescence and then later on as young adults. You're forming them in the basic attitudes and values which they will, for most of them, they will carry on throughout life. And talking to alumni, they often look back to, more often than not, to grade school and high school rather than to college as the time that they enjoyed the most. Now, of course, that's hindsight. When I'm sure when they were in high school, they would often complain, or they would often try to get away with not doing their homework or getting out of class, etc. But later on, when they look back, even the hard times when they were caught cheating, or when they had to stay for extra work, or they had to struggle hard, that becomes meaningful to them. But I'm sure their teachers did not always enjoy as much of the time as our alumni reminisce in their own sort of exchange or sharing with each other. So I think that's, you're entrusted with the basic and fundamental groundwork of the young people of Bacolod City. The third is So the first was remembering who we are. Second, remembering why we are here. Now third is remembering the spirit we should have. Saint LaSalle, when he was towards the end of his life, maybe the last 2 years of his life, started, of course, looking back, and he knew he did not have much time left. So he put down probably what he thought was the most important things for those involved in LaSallian education. And he wrote down that, I put it dying words. Of course, he was not dying. He was just the final years of his life. And this is what he wrote down. That which is of the utmost importance, to which the greatest attention should be given in an institute or in a school. Now you notice the superlatives here. Utmost importance, greatest attention. Okay. That means he was not thinking, he was emphasizing very, very strongly, okay, that this is of, you might say, central concern for anyone who is entering or a member of a LaSallian institution. All composing, all the members possess the spirit that is unique, that is special to it. So, you are members of the IS LaSallian family. So he says, that which is the most important thing for you is that you possess the spirit that is unique to the LaSallian family. Okay. That new members make it their first concern, first care to acquire it. So the younger members, okay, to acquire it. He was very realistic. He knows that this spirit does not come in when you sign the contract. No. Or when you attend your orientation workshop. No, it has to be acquired day in and day out, gradually. But it's not just to the new members. The next slide. And those who are already members, continue, who are already members, make it their first care to preserve and increase it in themselves. So, the experience, once you're not exempted. Our job, our responsibility is to preserve and increase this spirit in ourselves. And then he has a warning. If you are a member but you do not possess this spirit or you lost it, you are considered a dead member. So saka ka lang wala na dahon, wala na bunga. No? But still part of the tree. Laya na. No? Those who do not and should be looked upon as dead members, and they should see themselves as such. Very, very strong words. But remember, he was talking about this from his experience. After having started maybe about 40 or 50 schools. Small schools, but still, he knew that if a school is not energized by the Spirit, there will be no fruits that will come out of it. And the members in that school are varying at various stages of incorporating that Spirit. Okay. So he was very honest and frank. Okay. You're wondering now, what is this Spirit? Okay. The Spirit is referring to the guiding vision. In other words, it's not clear to you. First of all, papers, when I proctor, when I mentor, when I assign homework, when I prepare my lessons, or if you are in the office, when I handle certain activities that are connected with the school. What is the spirit behind that? In other words, what is the vision? Do I understand where that fits in the whole vision of the school? And the spirit is threefold. One is faith. He says, of course we see things naturally, but he says, in a Salle school, in addition to that, and completing that, complementing it, should be a sense of faith. To see it from God's eyes. And that is a very challenging attitude. To incorporate in myself the eyes of faith, to look at things from God's point of view. The second one is zeal for service. So the spirit that we should strengthen and deepen in ourselves is zeal for service. Passion and commitment. That's what zeal is. That I do things with passion. It energizes me. In other words, I give it my all. Commitment is to stick to it because I believe in what I am doing. When it is easy as well as when it is difficult. And third is the spirit of working in communion with others. That I'm not just one teacher or one staff member. I am a member of a team. I'm a member of a family. And we're all walking and working towards the same goal. So we're in this ministry together. And that's why I think I'm very happy to address you as a whole family. Because, in other words, if one member is not working with the rest, it slows down or it can affect the rest in a very, very sometimes complicated or serious way. And then Salle continues. It is the spirit that should energize all their actions. So this faith, the zeal, and the sense of communion should energize all your actions, whatever you are involved in. That should be the motive of their whole behavior or conduct. In other words, when I am asked to be responsible for certain things, then the motivation is, again, faith, zeal, and communion. Particularly in the way we relate with each other and with our students. So, faith, service, zeal, and communion in the way we work with our students, in the way we work in our departments, in the way we work with our grade or year levels, with administration, etc., with the parents. In my own life, maybe something personal. I was 59 turning 60 when Brother Dodo asked me that he would nominate me as the president to replace Brother Gus. And reluctantly, I said yes. I said, I'm turning 60. I should be retiring. And he says, no, you still have work to do. And so what came to my mind is, why is God calling me to Bacolod now? And especially, when I started looking back, is there something that is needed in USLS to which I can maybe contribute. And that, I think, was the question that was in my mind. I had things, my experiences. I've done a lot of information work of brothers as well as of the Salle partners. And probably, I think I was like we gave some workshops here in Bacolod between the years 2000 and 2004. But we worked as a team. And I remember giving a workshop here. So, was that the area? I just finished my doctorate in counseling. And so, is that another area? My experience as a brother working in different places around the institute, is that another area? So, these were the questions that came to me. And so, what I said about the Spirit energizing us, the question that came to me is, okay, what do I have to offer that from my gifts that can promote the mission in USLS? And of course, I could not answer that myself because I was not really into the, you might say, knowledgeable of what are the situations in the IS, in the college, graduate school, and in the community. Because I was always a vacationing brother. I was not assigned to USLS. But talking to different administrators and different persons, it seems perhaps in terms of sharing maybe the vision of the founder, in terms of sharing what is the mission, the LaSallian mission, what is the meaning of it. That seems to be part of maybe what I can offer. And I have also to be aware of my own weaknesses, that I'm not the most outgoing and extrovert of brothers. Brother Aryan is the more outgoing. But yet, I know I have to, as a president, I cannot stay in my room and stay inside. I have to meet people. I also have, I guess, my own training in terms of counseling. I think that is also part of it, that I don't mind listening and I enjoy listening to people and sharing with them what they are undergoing and what I myself am reflecting on that. And then communion in mission. How do I complement the roles of my fellow administrator? Because I'm not, the president is not the most important person. The ones who are, let's say, in the front lines are you. And I thank you for supporting me and backing me up. But actually, as the president, I think we should be behind you, backing you up, because you are the ones who will meet the students. You are the ones who face the parents. You are the ones who meet other people. And oftentimes, they are more forthright, more demanding with you than with the president. With the president, sometimes they're more calm, they're more. But with the teacher, a homeroom teacher, or with a moderator of a club, the parents can be very, very strong. So I think the president's role is also to back you up, and then complement the role. And secondly, I think, how do I contribute to the synergy, the new things that come when you work together to bring about miracles? And I put miracles there in quotation marks because that's from the words of the founder. He said, because God providentially chose you, He expects you to perform miracles. Now, the founder wrote this in the 17th century, 18th century, when the job or the career of a teacher was very, very, very low. But yet, the founder said, no, the teacher performs miracles. If you have that spirit, be ready to perform miracles with your students. And those of you who have lots of experience, you know, you can remember the miracle cases that have happened in your life with certain students. And that is because God is working with you and through you. So I think as a president, I also am in a way confident that working with others, these miracles will take place. Okay, stop talking about myself. What does this mean for you? Okay, reflect a little bit on the three things I talked about. Remember who you are, what you are doing. Very good. Okay, so reflect that as applied to yourself. I gave you an example of as it applied to me. Then, sharing for a few minutes with the ones beside you.
There was a special invitation from God that we would be teaching in the grade school or in the integrated school. And then another common item that we shared with each other is that as we grow in love with our profession, we have discovered that more or less we are also trying to grow with some values of St. John Baptist with us. And we're looking forward also to the service with the school.
Okay, so three things. One is the kind of a calling.
Yeah.
Second, that you grow as you experience living out the mission or the vocation of the teacher, and then to continue growing in that. How many sort of from those three? How many we are all sharing? Could you raise your hand? If yours also coincides with that. Yes.
I guess I have the same or similar story of what Sir Jonas shared. Because when I first came here in Salle, it was really Brother Rory who invited me to try and test my profession in Salle. I used to be permanent in a government firm, but it was 3 years that he was able to convince. He convinced me to try in Bacolod. So I used to work in Manila, and then as I resigned in my government firm without thinking of my salary. Actually, I received a higher salary than in Bacolod, Salle. And it was a challenge to me because meeting the service and the mission of Salle, it was a big challenge to me, and I was able to a bit internalize the mission that Lasallian ways. And then as I grow in this institution, I was able to overcome my weaknesses and practice the Lasallian way.
Okay, thank you. So oftentimes, another person played a role in why we ended up here, or why we stayed. And that's part, I think, of the resonance that St. LaSalle talks about, that when you look back over your personal journey, it's very often linked with other people, in communion with others. But sometimes we don't realize where it's heading until we look back after a while, and then it begins to make some sense. Well, I leave this up to you. What practical goals can you set for yourself this school year in the light of those three? Because remember, Marquez says, don't forget. Keep remembering. Or else, we might end up putting up signs. The signs are good, okay, but sometimes the signs, even the signs we put up, vision, or IS. After a while, we walk past it, and we forget that it's even there. But if it's in our hearts, and if we take something practical to put it into effect in our own individual areas, then I think the mission will be accomplished. It doesn't mean that we're all going to be 100% successful. At the end of each school year, St. LaSalle met with his teachers, and then they together put together, okay, what are the practices that work? What are the practices that did not work? And then gradually they came up with a manual procedure. Again, they had to learn from their own experiences. So I think I put this challenge to you. I'm sure departmentally you have your own goals already, but your own personal goals, I think that's also important. Something realizable and down to earth, and which you can go back to and check yourself to see if am I making progress, was I too ambitious, or maybe I am forgetful. So it's I think a way of doing that. So I suggest that. And once again, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Brother Ray. Brother, definitely, I think all 135 of us who are here know who we are, right? I'm convincing, right? But Miss Cecil and I didn't know if I was Vilma Santos or if she was Rosa Rosal. Anyway, so we definitely know who we are, brother, and we know why we are here. I think it's very important. And of course, we are very, very sure and hopeful that we are all guided by the same Spirit, brother. So we thank you for being with us this morning, and rest assured, brother, as you said, we are going to be behind you all the time, as we are also very sure that our brother president is going to back us up and be behind all of us. So with that, brother, this is our simple way of
One of my weaknesses is I have very poor memory of names. So 135 of you will take me some time to remember. But when I meet you and or we talk, you can refresh my memory. And you can just you can inform me that you're teaching in the IS, or what grade level you're teaching, or what department you are, or what office you are. So that that will help jog my memory. The handout is for you to to reflect on during the year, especially at this time.
So, as our brother said, he hopes that we have set our goals and we are going to make these very realistic and practical goals so that we can achieve them at the end of the year and not be frustrated. So, again, with that, brother, we say welcome to the
May I ask Ms. Jessa and Ms. Julina to please come forward to help us in the animation of the song Welcome to the Family. Brother, this is our simple gesture of welcoming you to the family.